Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's such an honor to be standing before you today. I want to speak about something that I believe resonates with every one of us, no matter where we come from or who we are. It's about how we respond when faced with disrespect. The truth is, it's all too easy to react when we're disrespected. Our egos flare up, our hearts race, and sometimes we want to retaliate in ways that we may regret. But I am here to tell you, there's power in silence. Stay quiet after disrespect. This doesn't mean you're weak or that you're accepting the mistreatment. Far from it. It means you have the wisdom to recognize that your peace of mind is far more valuable than any momentary victory in a confrontation. Let me tell you something I've learned over the years. As a woman, as a person of color, and as someone who has worked hard to carve out a place for herself in an industry that can sometimes feel unforgiving, I've faced moments where disrespect tried to knock me down. And in those moments when the world expected me to react, when people anticipated a heated response, I chose silence. It wasn't because I didn't have something to say, but because I understood that not every battle deserves a response. Not every word of negativity requires my energy. Choosing silence in the face of disrespect is one of the most empowering responses you can give. When we are disrespected, our natural reaction is often to retaliate. Our emotions flare, and we feel compelled to speak up or defend ourselves. But it is in that very moment, when we choose not to react, that we reclaim our personal power. Silence in the face of disrespect is not a sign of weakness or submission. Rather, it is an act of immense strength and control. It shows that you are in charge of your own emotions and responses, refusing to let external negativity dictate your state of mind. When we respond impulsively to disrespect, it is easy to lose sight of our own values and priorities. We may say things we later regret or get drawn into a backhand forth that serves no real purpose. The energy that we invest in reacting to disrespect is energy that we could have directed towards something more positive, our goals, our relationships, or simply preserving our own peace of mind. Staying silent in such situations reflects a deep sense of self-awareness and the understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. It's about realizing that you are above the petty actions or words of others. Your worth is not determined by the opinions or behavior of those who choose to disrespect you. Moreover, silence can be an incredibly powerful form of communication. When someone disrespects you and you choose not to engage, it sends a clear message. It tells the person that you will not stoop to their level. You won't lower yourself to meet their negativity with more of the same. Instead, you are saying, I am not defined by your words, and I will not let your behavior affect my peace. This is a mature and dignified way of handling disrespect. It requires a deep understanding that your peace of mind and emotional well-being are far more valuable than any temporary victory that could come from retaliating. Silence, in many ways, speaks louder than words. In the absence of a reaction, there is a profound statement of strength. It communicates resilience, a quiet power that shows you do not need to prove yourself in the face of disrespect. Instead, you hold your ground with grace and composure. This quiet strength is far more potent than any verbal confrontation, because it shows that you are unshaken by the negativity around you. In fact, staying quiet in the face of disrespect often disarms the other person more effectively than responding with anger or hostility ever could. In choosing silence, you are also protecting your emotional energy. Every time you respond to negativity, you are giving a piece of yourself away. But when you remain silent, you preserve your energy, your peace, and your sense of self. The ability to stay quiet in the face of disrespect is a reflection of personal growth. It means you understand that some things are simply not worth your time, that you are beyond the need to engage with negativity, and that you are in control of how you respond to the world around you. Silence in this context is not a passive act. It is an intentional, deliberate choice to rise above the noise and maintain your sense of inner strength. It is an empowering decision to protect your emotional space and hold yourself in a higher regard than to get lost in a moment of confrontation. By choosing silence, you empower yourself to stay focused on what truly matters, your peace, your well-being, and your personal growth. When we are disrespected, our instinct often pushes us to react, whether through words or actions, in an effort to defend ourselves or to prove our worth. Yet there is an often over, overlooked but deeply empowering choice we can make to stay silent. By choosing silence in the face of disrespect, we take back control of our own peace. In moments where emotions run high, where the world around us feels chaotic and overwhelming, silence serves as a grounding force, allowing us to maintain our sense of calm and balance. Responding to disrespect typically invites more conflict, more noise, and more emotional turbulence. When we engage with negativity, we inadvertently give power to the person or situation that is causing the disturbance. Instead of holding onto our peace, we allow the disrespect to infiltrate our minds and hearts. However, when we choose not to react, we protect our inner tranquility. We remove ourselves from the cycle of retaliation and negativity, choosing to prioritize our emotional well-being over winning an argument or making a point. It's important to understand that our peace is incredibly precious. In this fast-paced, often tumultuous world, peace of mind can be one of the most challenging things to preserve. Yet it is also one of the most important. When we allow others' disrespect to affect us, we are essentially giving away our peace and allowing someone else to dictate how we feel. By staying silent, we refuse to let external factors, especially the negative actions or words of others, take away something so invaluable. The act of choosing silence is not about weakness or being passive. Rather, it is an active decision to remain undisturbed by the negativity around us. It's an acknowledgement that we have the ability to remain centered, no matter what others may do or say. Silence in such a moment acts as a shield, protecting us from the emotional turbulence that can arise from engaging with disrespect. In choosing not to respond, we retain the power to control our emotional reactions, thus safeguarding our peace. Moreover, silence in the face of disrespect often creates a space of clarity. When we resist the temptation to react impulsively, we give ourselves the time and space to reflect on the situation. We create the opportunity to process our feelings and assess whether the disrespect we are facing is worth our energy. Often, when we step back and refrain from reacting immediately, we realize that the situation is not as significant as it may have felt in the heat of the moment. By staying silent, we allow ourselves to see the situation from a more objective perspective without getting lost in the emotional whirlwind. Choosing silence also teaches us the value of emotional resilience. It requires strength to resist the urge to retaliate when our pride or dignity feels threatened. But by exercising that restraint, we cultivate a deeper sense of self-control and emotional maturity. We learn that we don't have to let the actions of others dictate our emotional responses. Instead, we can choose how we feel and how we engage with the world around us. This ability to protect our peace through silence is an incredibly empowering act, as it demonstrates that we are not at the mercy of others' behavior, but rather in command of our own emotional state. In essence, staying silent in the face of disrespect is a conscious decision to protect your peace and preserve your emotional energy. It is a reflection of your strength, your resilience, and your ability to rise above the noise. When we choose silence, we reclaim our power, prioritize our well-being, and refuse to let anyone disrupt our inner calm. Remaining silent in the face of disrespect does not signify weakness or submission. Instead, it signifies a profound level of emotional intelligence and strength. Many times, we are conditioned to believe that responding to disrespect is necessary in order to stand up for ourselves or assert our boundaries. However, silence in such situations is not about accepting mistreatment. It is a deliberate and conscious choice to respond in a manner that is aligned with our values, dignity, and long-term peace of mind. When we choose not to react immediately to disrespect, we are not saying that we accept the disrespect. On the contrary, it is a decision to detach ourselves from the negativity. In those moments, we are choosing not to stoop to a level where conflict or emotional turmoil would consume us. We are acknowledging that we have more important things to protect: our inner peace, our self-worth, and our sense of emotional well-being. In fact, silence often serves as the most powerful statement of all. By not engaging, we are asserting that the disrespect we are receiving is beneath us and not worthy of our time or energy. There is a certain wisdom in knowing that not every battle is worth fighting. Retaliating or responding to disrespect can be emotionally draining, and often it leads to a cycle of escalation. Engaging in conflict may provide a momentary sense of triumph, but it rarely contributes to any meaningful resolution. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to lose control and say things we don't mean. By choosing silence, we avoid making rash decisions or saying things that could hurt us or others in the long run. It is an indication that we value our emotional stability more than the fleeting satisfaction of winning an argument or proving a point. Silence also communicates a high level of emotional maturity. It demonstrates that we are in control of our emotions and can respond with grace, even when we are provoked. It requires far more strength to remain calm and composed in the face of disrespect than to react with anger or frustration. In many ways, this quiet strength is more powerful than any words we could say. It signals to others that we are not easily shaken, and that their disrespect will not change who we are or how we carry ourselves. Our response, or lack of, serves as a reminder that we are not defined by the behavior of others. We choose how we react, and we choose to rise above the noise. By staying silent, we also protect our integrity. Responding to disrespect might feel good in the moment, but it can diminish our self-respect in the long run. Engaging in negativity or conflict often leaves us feeling drained, frustrated, and unsettled. But when we choose to maintain our silence, we preserve our sense of dignity. We uphold our values and show that we are unwilling to be drawn into behavior that undermines our sense of self-worth. This kind of strength is quiet, but it is immensely powerful. It shows that we are not interested in exchanging insults or participating in drama. Instead, we are focused on what truly matters: our emotional well-being and personal growth. Choosing silence, then, is not about being passive or letting others walk over us. It is about knowing our worth and standing firm in our own self-respect. It is a form of self-preservation, a quiet declaration that we are above disrespectful behavior and that we will not let it affect us. The strength to remain silent in such moments is a reflection of our inner strength and emotional resilience, signaling to both ourselves and others that we do not need to prove our worth through confrontation. Instead, we prove our strength by remaining composed and dignified in the face of negativity. When faced with disrespect, choosing silence over retaliation is a powerful way to prioritize self-respect over the desire for immediate confrontation. Many people are conditioned to believe that standing up for themselves means reacting in the heat of the moment, defending their dignity through words or actions. However, reacting impulsively to disrespect often leads to unnecessary escalation and can leave us feeling drained or regretful afterward. Choosing silence is not a sign of submission. It is a thoughtful and strategic decision to uphold self-respect without lowering ourselves to engage in negativity. In those moments when we are disrespected, we are presented with an opportunity to act from a place of emotional strength rather than ego or pride. Our natural instinct may be to defend ourselves, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the most effective or dignified response. When we engage with negativity or respond to disrespectful behavior, we risk allowing the situation to define us. Our worth becomes tied to how we react, and often, our response may not reflect our true values or character. In contrast, choosing silence is an active choice to preserve our sense of self-respect. It demonstrates that we are above the petty actions or words of others, and we do not need to prove our worth by engaging in conflict. By choosing silence, we effectively communicate that we are not interested in a confrontation. We refuse to let someone else's disrespect dictate how we feel or behave. It's a way of maintaining our dignity without lowering ourselves to the level of those who seek to undermine us. Responding to disrespect with silence often forces the person who has disrespected us to reevaluate their behavior. It sends the message that their words or actions do not have the power to control us or dictate our emotional state. Instead of engaging in a tit-for-tat exchange, we stand firm in our own self-respect and refuse to be provoked. This approach helps to safeguard our emotional energy. Confrontations, especially when fueled by disrespect, can be draining and emotionally exhausting. When we choose silence, we conserve our emotional resources and prevent ourselves from getting caught in a cycle of negative emotions. We preserve our peace and self-esteem, rather than investing time and energy in something that may not lead to a resolution. Silence is a way to protect ourselves from the emotional toll of conflict, allowing us to stay centered and maintain our emotional stability. Moreover, silence can sometimes be the most effective way to assert boundaries. By refusing to engage with disrespect, we draw a clear line that we will not tolerate being mistreated. We set a precedent for how we expect to be treated by others. It's a way of demonstrating that our self-respect is non-negotiable, and anyone who chooses to disrespect us will not receive a response that validates their behavior. This silent assertion of boundaries speaks volumes, and it shows that we are willing to protect our dignity by not allowing anyone to diminish our worth through their actions or words. Ultimately, silence in the face of disrespect is a reflection of inner strength and emotional maturity. It requires the ability to rise above the situation, to recognize that engaging in negativity does not serve us. By choosing silence, we not only protect our peace, but also honor our self-respect. We show that our worth is not contingent on the opinions or behaviors of others, and that we are confident in our ability to maintain our integrity, regardless of the challenges we face. Through this choice, we assert our power in a way that requires no words, only the quiet strength of knowing our value and standing firm in it. When we are disrespected, it can feel personal. Our immediate reaction might be to internalize the hurtful words or actions, believing they reflect something about our worth or character. However, it's important to understand that disrespect is a reflection of the person who is being disrespectful, not of who we are. When someone disrespects us, it often says more about their insecurities, misunderstandings, or emotional state than it does about us. By internalizing the disrespect and allowing it to affect our self-esteem, we give that person power over our emotional state. On the other hand, recognizing that disrespect speaks more about the person who delivers it than about ourselves helps us to detach from their negativity and maintain our self-worth. Disrespect can stem from a variety of sources: miscommunication, jealousy, personal frustrations, or even ignorance. Regardless of the reason, it is crucial to remember that it is not a direct reflection of our value. People's words and behaviors often come from their own experiences and perspectives. When someone disrespects us, it's usually not because we deserve it, but because they are projecting their own issues, biases, or frustrations onto us. A person who disrespects others often feels powerless themselves, and their behavior is more about their internal struggles than it is about anything we've done. Understanding this distinction allows us to step back and not take their behavior personally. Disrespect is simply a reaction from someone else, and it is not an accurate measure of who we are or what we deserve. It does not define us. If we take it personally, we are allowing that person's behavior to control how we feel about ourselves. This can lead to feelings of self-doubt, resentment, or frustration, and ultimately, it robs us of our peace. Instead, if we recognize that disrespect is more about the other person's issues, we can choose not to internalize it. We are then able to preserve our self-worth even in the face of negativity. When we allow disrespect to define us, we give others power over our emotional state. This can lead to a cycle of self-criticism and emotional depletion. The key to avoiding this trap is realizing that we are in control of our reactions. The way others treat us doesn't determine our value. It's how we choose to respond to that treatment that matters most. When we choose to rise above disrespect, to remain silent or composed, we assert that our sense of self is not dependent on anyone else's opinion or behavior. We are the ones who define our worth. By not internalizing disrespect, we also free ourselves from the burden of seeking validation from others. Often, people disrespect others to gain power, make themselves feel superior, or to assert control. But when we don't let their actions affect us, we avoid falling into the trap of needing their approval. Our worth is intrinsic. It's not defined by how others treat us. When we internalize this understanding, we no longer feel the need to prove ourselves to anyone. We begin to realize that our value is constant, regardless of external opinions or actions. In the end, it's essential to remember that the disrespect we encounter is not a reflection of who we are. It's a reflection of the person delivering it. When we can separate ourselves from this negativity, we maintain our dignity and self-respect. Disrespect may attempt to challenge our worth, but our ability to recognize that it speaks more about others than it does about us allows us to preserve our emotional peace and sense of self. By not internalizing disrespect, we free ourselves from its impact and allow ourselves to thrive in the knowledge that our value is unshakable. Choosing silence in the face of disrespect is one of the most powerful ways to establish and maintain healthy boundaries. When we remain quiet after being disrespected, we send a clear message that we will not tolerate mistreatment, but we do not need to engage in unnecessary conflict to prove it. Boundaries are essential to protecting our emotional well-being, and silence is a powerful tool for setting those boundaries. By choosing not to respond, we are asserting that we expect to be treated with respect, and we will not lower ourselves to engage in behavior that doesn't align with our values. Setting boundaries is not about creating walls that isolate us from others. It's about creating a space where we feel safe, respected, and valued. When we allow others to treat us poorly and react impulsively, we inadvertently send the message that their disrespect is acceptable. Silence, on the other hand, communicates that we do not allow ourselves to be drawn into negativity. It establishes a firm line that says, "I will not engage with behavior that undermines my self-worth." This quiet response helps to reinforce that our peace and emotional energy are not to be wasted on interactions that do not contribute to our well-being. Boundaries also create clarity in our relationships, whether personal or professional. When we choose silence, we indirectly communicate what is and is not acceptable behavior toward us. Over time, people begin to recognize that their negative behavior will not provoke a reaction from us. This reinforces the importance of treating us with respect. Silence helps to establish a standard of how we expect to be treated, and in doing so, we protect our emotional space. The more we practice setting boundaries through silence, the more we ensure that others understand that we prioritize our peace over engaging in unnecessary conflict. By not reacting to disrespect, we also prevent ourselves from being dragged into cycles of drama or emotional turmoil. Responding to negativity often leads to more negativity, creating a toxic environment where emotional conflict reigns. However, when we remain silent, we disrupt that cycle. We refuse to play into the game of escalating emotions, instead choosing to disengage from the negativity. In doing so, we create space for more positive interactions and preserve the quality of our relationships. We show others that we are not interested in participating in drama, and we place more value on harmony than on winning an argument or proving a point. Silence also helps to reinforce our self-worth and teaches others how to treat us. When we remain composed and refuse to engage with disrespect, we show that we have self-respect and emotional resilience. This sets a standard that others will recognize, signaling that mistreatment is not acceptable. As we establish these boundaries through silence, we send the message that we are not defined by others' opinions or actions, and we refuse to allow anyone to diminish our sense of self-worth. Ultimately, silence in the face of disrespect is an intentional act of self-care. It is a way to protect our emotional space, affirm our boundaries, and prevent unnecessary emotional conflict. By choosing silence, we preserve our peace, maintain our dignity, and assert our right to be treated with respect. This quiet form of boundary setting is not only a reflection of strength, but also an invitation for others to recognize and respect our value. It is a powerful reminder that we control our emotional environment and that we will not allow anyone to disturb our peace.